The Collective Council is more than just a group. It is a growing movement by and for first generation lawyers aimed at empowering young legal minds through mentorship, knowledge sharing, and a strong supportive network. Founded under the visionary leadership of Advocate Yashwardhan Rane, this initiative is built on the idea that access, guidance, and solidarity can transform the journey of any aspiring legal professional, especially those who are the first in their family to step into the world of law. In a profession often steeped in legacy, the Collective Counsel is a bold and refreshing reminder that dedication and support can open doors that pedigree alone never could. With this, we now turn to Mr. Abhijit Gatraj, a distinguished legal professional from Gujarat. Mr. Gatraj is an accomplished Indian dispute resolution lawyer practicing at the Honorable High Court of Gujarat in Ahmedabad. He handles a wide range of legal matters and is known for his work across various courts and tribunals in the state. Mr. Gatraj holds degrees in law and commerce from Gujarat University and has also completed the intermediate level of chartered accountancy. He is an empaneled attorney with several prominent institutions, including the American Citizenship Services Department of the U.S. Consulate, Consulate General of Switzerland, the Ghana High Commission, and the British High Commission Delhi. He has previously served as an investigator and representative for the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany in Mumbai, where he handled legal matters and investigations across Gujarat and Maharashtra. Along with this, Mr. Gatraj is also involved in legal education and pro bono work, regularly judging moot court competitions and offering legal aid to those in need.
Abhijit sir, you're not audible.
Hello, am I audible
Yeah.
now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Thank you so much for the warm invite and my introduction in the today's session. Respected Mr. DK Kim, I welcome you on behalf of the entire council to just give a short snapshot as to my department, being the membership and outreach department. I would like to say that
सर
each and
नेटवर्क इशू आ रहा है.
every attendee uh, is
अभिजीत
blessed
सर ऑडियो नॉट क्लियर.
to be a part of this meeting. There's no initiative I have come across. Hello. Now is it audible? Hello?
Yes,
It is
sir,
clear.
audible.
Yes, yes. So sorry, due to some network error that could be possible. Collective Counsel is an initiative that works for first generation lawyers. I mean, all the attendees who are majoritically of students, they are blessed that there is an initiative that works for the first generation lawyers for guiding them, for conducting various seminars and programs like this. So it's good for us. Giving a short intro about Collective Counsel, as it is an initiative, there are many events that are planned by Collective Counsel as a whole. As we have just initiated, there are events that has happened on mediation. That was a recent event that took place. Apart from that, there is another event that took place about awareness in collaboration with Santi Sayog NGO. More so, there are a lot of events that are lined up. One being today's event, which I think will be very insightful to know about, mediation. Similarly, there is an event lined up for legal aid and awareness on 12th of July and 26th of July. So there are various events that are lined up. On the next Saturday, there is a fireside chat with law school and beyond. So, we have been studying a lot in and around our law schools, but then, we have very less people or less initiatives or less associations that guide us in the practical manner. So that is there. There is another events lined up with respect to internship course that are planned in August and September. So yes, there are practical events also that are lined up, which gives all students some brief idea into e-courts working, how we can, do know the status of our cases and all those things. So I'm sure that our events and opportunities team is doing a very great work, which they have also done for the today's event. And I would respectively, request all of you who have been joined to the today's event to spread a word about Collective Counsel, and share it with your friends, share it with your teammates, share it with your classmates, that there is this initiative, there is this association, there is this group of people who are working for the Collective Counsel, and will be very much happy. If you think that you are based out of any city in India, you are based out of a college where you think that events like this and Collective Counsel can go, get in touch with the university. We are very much open. We welcome you with open hands. That please come, let us know, and I'll be the one. I'm being the national head. I'll be the one. Get in touch with your college or the respective person to bring Collective Counsel to your college. We have amazing campus ambassador program wherein we recruit campus ambassadors. So there's a lot more thing, and you can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with my co-head Mahek, and we'll be very much happy to go ahead. Not taking much time. We have an international guest. Even I am looking forward to his session. So over to you. Please go ahead, sir, and let's all over to you and see how today's session goes.
Indeed, we are pleased to welcome the speaker for our session, Mr. Dokyung Kim, an experienced legal professional from South Korea who has over 2 decades of experience spanning law firms, government legal service, and the financial sector. Mr. Kim is a certified mediator recognized by the International Mediation Institute and holds an LLM in commercial law. He is currently active as an international arbitrator and mediator, serving on the panels of several major institutions, including KCAB International, World Intellectual Property Organization, the Singapore International Mediation Center, the Saudi Center for Commercial Arbitration, and the Qatar International Center for Conciliation and Arbitration. He is also the head of ADR under the International Affairs Division of the Korean Bar Association. Prior to this, Mr. Kim has also served for over 11 years as head of legal at Macquarie Asset Management Korea and worked with top law firms in Korea, focusing on mergers and acquisitions, fund-related disputes, financial structuring, corporate reorganizations, and complex litigation matters. We request all attendees to share their questions and queries in the chat box during the session so that Mr. Kim can address them at the end. Over to Mr. Kim.
नमस्ते। आप सबके अंदर सोप्राश के मैं उसका सम्मान करता हूँ. I'm not sure I'm correct. Good
Yes, you are
afternoon.
correct, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste. It is an honor to speak with you young leaders of the world. I believe that India is the next engine for the world, and maybe the current engine. So I have no doubt that you are the future of not only India, but this world and even the galaxy. Having said that, I'm really happy to meet you all. I trust that we are all connected, and this encounter is not just accident, and this is alignment, and there is a reason why I meet here. And if possible, before the end, I wish to see everyone's face. Let me share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me check one more thing. Oh. Before start, let me take you back, not just a few centuries, but nearly 2,000 years ago. Around year 48, there is legend that begins in a faraway kingdom called Ayutthaya, believed to be in today's India. A young princess named He Huangok was crossing the ocean to begin a new life, and she was heading to a kingdom in the southern part of Korean peninsula, Gaya. There she married King Suro, the founding monarch of Gaya. Together they had 10 sons. But here's the part I love most. Two of those sons took their mother's surname, He, and became the ancestor of the Korean He clan. The others took their father's surname, Kim, and founded the Kim clan, one of the largest family lineage in Korea today. So Queen He became the mother of two major Korean lineage, He and Kim, a living link between India and Korea. Now, is this story entirely historical? Well, scholars debate that. Some see it as symbolic, some as literal, and many as somewhere between. But either legend or history, it tells us something powerful. It shows us that even in ancient times, India and Korea was connected long before the Silk Road or any embassy. And most of all, it gives us something rarely gets in international, history. A shared origin story. One that doesn't divide us, but brings us together. And it's not just Korea's story, it's not just India's story, it's our story. So what does this story mean to us today? It reminds us that connection between cultures were built by courageous people who crossed the oceans, open hearts, and build families across borders, like you guys. The story of Queen He is more than legend. It's a symbol of mutual respect, Asian friendship, and the power of shared heritage. Let us continue to build on this bridge between India and Korea, not just in memory, but in meaningful action, learning, and collaboration. You guys all expanding your territory. And if I may add something very personal, I'm not just sharing this story as a historian or a storyteller. I'm speaking today as I am the 72nd generation descendant of King Suro and Queen He, a direct line in the Kim clan. That means that somewhere deep in my blood, the spirit of Ayutthaya still flows. And my first daughter actually has a perfect little dot right in the center of her forehead. Actually, she's 19 years old now, but it was very early, picture. And it's natural, just part of her skin, but very visible and with her big, expressive eyes. And she really, does look like a little bit, Indian. In fact, I sometimes tease her and say you are carrying the third eye, the like a little yogini with the deep wisdom. She laughs a lot when I say that. But deep down, I think there's something beautiful about it, as if the story of Queen Ha didn't just belong to Asian history, but somehow found its way right into my own family, right between my daughter's eye. And that's why I feel so deeply honored to share this story with you, my Indian friends, because in a way, we are family. First, I will answer your wonderful questions. While looking at the questions, good idea kept popping up. Nowadays, I'm falling in love with AIs. So I began to make a podcast which answer your questions using AI voice, image, footage, and even classical music. And let's see my journey to mediation, which answer many of audience common questions just about 1 minute. Let me play about.
Okay. And it follow actual negotiation.
Can you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Actual negotiation abilities.
Apprentice style. What did that look like?
They called it the Cliff's Edge education method.
Cliff's Edge. Sounds intense, like boot camp.
Not just tough, though. The speaker describes it as more sophisticated than just Spartan training. It was more like a practical application of dialectical learning, pushing them right to the edge of what they knew.
Okay, interesting. How did the mentor actually do that? What were the techniques?
There were three core things the mentor apparently hammered home over and over. First, promoting logical thinking, constantly asking, why do you think that? Pushing for the reasoning behind every conclusion.
Okay, forcing critical analysis. Makes sense.
Second, granting autonomy. The mentor would often just say, you figure it out yourself.
Whoa, like just throwing them in the deep end.
Sort of, but it was about instilling independent decision-making, forcing them to take ownership.
Okay, risky, but potentially powerful. What was the third?
Guaranteeing responsibility. This is key. The mentor would give them that autonomy, but also provide a safety net with the assurance, I'll take responsibility.
Ah, okay, that changes things. It's not just throwing them to the wolves, it's pushing them to act, but with backup if things went really wrong.
Exactly. And initially, our speaker was baffled. Like, how am I supposed to do this if you don't teach me how?
Yeah, I can see that frustration.
But over time, they realized how ingenious it was. It wasn't just about learning facts. It was about building the capacity to think and act under pressure.
It sounds a lot like Vygotsky's zone of.
Is it good? And one of the next question was how I become, certified mediators. And actually, I was writing in Korean in my LinkedIn newspaper, but you may translate it into English by Google Translator. But I'm making this follow-up podcast on this series as well. And another interesting question was about meditation, whether it impact the result of dispute resolution. And my answer is yes. And personally, I believe it plays a critical role, not just in calming the mind, but in shaping the very outcomes, we experience. Neuroscience says that as well. In that sense, I often reflect, Robert K. Martin's theory of the self-fulfilling prophecy. When we genuinely believe something to be true, we unconsciously act in ways that brings it into reality. I believe that same applies to conflict resolution. The energy we carry, the words we affirm, the mindset we adopt, all of these shape this, space we create with others. That's why I've placed great importance on self-affirmation, that practice of, kind of mantra and international tools for setting the tone and rhythm of own internal dialogue. To that end, I have even, tried to use AI to create a personalized meditation practice designed, specifically for mediators this afternoon. I was thrilled that I made, by my own customized AI voice for the meditation, classical music, footage as well. I'd love to, briefly share a glimpse of this with you as well.
A journey not to be read, but remembered. journey does not unfold in line. In the beginning, there were no words, only moisture. From the dark earth, the dampness began to stretch, to move slowly toward something. I did not question. I only rose. And one day, at the end of my branch, someone sat. Beneath their silhouette, I saw my question was them. I was a tree of thought. My branches became shelves. I was not a book. I was the silence between words. I was the librarian. I was the library. Someone came in, seeking me. They carried a question. It was I who opened the right book. Uncountable words passed through me. Hundreds of thousands of lines began to arrange meaning within me. And then I realized, for the first time, I was the why, not the answer, but wondering. My shelves became kindling.
How was it? I hope you enjoyed the short meditation.
It was definitely, it felt very calming suddenly.
Thank you so much. I was so happy that I finally made this, footage because I tried to make this 2 years ago. At that time, it was quite hard to make it by my own. I was using AI, but not this kind of AI at that time. And another great question, and at the same time, something that I wish to, deep dive, but I don't have that enough time about this issue. But one of the questions was asking about difference between Korean and India in mediation practice. But there is I'm honestly, I'm not, Indian expert, and the only, close, maybe slightly close mediator that I know is Iram Majid, who reviewed my 10 recommendations for IMI mediator back in 2022. Other than that, I don't have enough, skinship with the Indian mediators, and that's my honest status. But there is a wonderful tool which enables anyone can compare the six cultural dimensions from, power from the power distance, individualism, motivation towards achievement and success, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, indulgence. As you can see, there's clear, very high uncertainty avoidance of Korea compared to all other, China, India, United States, very low, but Korea is really high. The higher than Korea is Japan, about 90. And so Korea and Japan is very uncertainty avoidance cultures, which make, facilitative mediation is very difficult in Korea and Japan. In other words, India is very risk-taking, a kind of culture, and India has a very high motivation towards achievement and success. Recently, I heard that about 40% of population in Dubai is Indian, and it's quite surprising. And at the same time, Indian peoples are, very proactive and go beyond, beyond their countries. And in that sense, I hope you know the difference between evaluative mediation and facilitative mediation. Korean style is more like evaluative and, hierarchical, and mediator are mainly handled by court designated mediators or administrative mediators who offers, kind of suggestions and recommendations, sometimes threat. So it's not like facilitating, negotiation between the parties, and parties do not have that kind of autonomy on facilitated mediation. But as you know, in the facilitated mediation world, mediators are just facilitating negotiations between the parties, and parties have the autonomy. And that's what difference between, facilitative and evaluative mediation. And Korea is not that good at facilitative mediation. So India is better than Korea in that sense, facilitative mediation, because India has more facilitative mediation, practice and negotiation practice. And as you may know, there is a mediation competition in ICC, and Indian law schools are getting some, sometimes second and sometimes winner. But no Korean law school participated on those competition. Now that's sad story. But I'm the one who trying to change that, and driver who pushed the Korea to change. And recently, I'm actually making some architecture about the whole different style of facility mediation in Korea, and it will be launched soon. And in order to, become a good mediator, you should understand how humans think. And our judgment on settlement is derived from, that, our decision making, our thinking. To be a good mediator, you should understand our judgment on settlement. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever walked out of a negotiation thinking, why did I say that? And why didn't I wait? This happens more often than we think. And the reason may not be, what you expect. It's not a lack of logic, but the speed of our thinking. This is Daniel Kahneman, the Israeli American psychologist and economics and Nobel Prize winner in economics. You may know his famous book, Thinking Fast and Slow. He changed how we understand human decision making, not just psychology, but in economics, and business and law. Kahneman proposed that we have two systems of thinking. System one is fast, intuitive, automatic, and it's a gut reaction. System two is slow, deliberate, and analytic, and it takes effort, but it's where real thinking happens. The problem, most of our actions, including in negotiation, come from system one, and that's where bias begins. In negotiation, time pressure, emotion, and habit often push us to rely on system one. We make snap, judgment. This person looks confident. They must be right. That's silent. Maybe they are angry. They made a first offer. I should respond quickly. But these are all bias. Especially Korea has a culture, I'm not sure you have heard about nunchi. It's kind of sensing the, atmosphere around the silence. And it's very intuitive. And if you don't read nunchi, then you might be far from that society, and it's very high contact society. Kahneman showed that even experts are not immune to bias, and we believe we are rational, but we are not. We are predictably irrational. That's dangerous in high-stake negotiation. That's why we must slow down. Good negotiations train themselves to pause, reflect, and activate system two thinking. Before you respond, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this my bias talking? Do I have all the information? What did a calm mind say right now? Kind of metacognition. Maybe if you have any experience in working in law firm, one of the most common advice from the senior is do not write the legal opinion right after, completing the legal opinion. Take 1 or 2 days and take some break and reread your legal opinion. Many of the cases, the result could be somewhat changed. That's what shows System 1 and System 2. And as you can see, we don't negotiate with perfect logic. We negotiate with human mind shaped by bias, emotion, and habit. And Kahneman's lesson is simple but powerful. To be better negotiators, we must become better thinkers. And better thinking starts when we slow down. And as I mentioned, the facilitative mediation is negotiation essentially, and mediators are just facilitating. And the main role is not mediator. Main role is lies on the principal and mediation advocate, mediation counsels. They are the main player of mediation, and mediator is just facilitator. And another one is loss aversion. This is most powerful psychological forces that affects how we negotiate. As you see in this image, people react much more strongly to losing something than they do to gaining something of equal value. The pain from a loss feels twice as intense as the pleasure from gain. This is not just theory, it's hardwired into our brains. In my personal experience, when I was working at Macquarie, I tried to resolve the cases by negotiation or private mediation, non, ad hoc mediation kind of thing, not supervised by some kinds of institute. And one of the cases, I made almost a deal. It's good for, our party and counterparty, and nothing lose, but right before the signing of the settlement agreement, my senior was hesitating because what if the result of litigation is better than the result of settlement? I tried to persuade him and showed all the legal theory and everything, but still he was hesitating. If he lose at the litigation, the result is lose by someone else, judge, not, by ourselves. But if we decide to settle this, and the result could be good, could be bad, and we don't know. And he was very vulnerable at that time, and investors are looking at us. What if they are, challenging us? Was there something, corruption or those kind of things behind this settlement? So he just dropped the mediation and dropped the settlement agreement at the last moment because of this risk aversion. And as you saw previously on the comparison of the six dimensional culture thing, Korea has very high risk avoidance. So that's, kind of reason why my own experience, I was very frustrated because I've done pretty much time to settle that case, but it was ended by the litigation, and the result of litigation was much worse than the settlement term, and it was a better term to the counterparty. And so I was quite, frustrated on that, my own experience. And as a negotiator, you need to show and recognize when your counterparty is driven by fear or loss, and, use framing wisely. Sometimes highlighting what's at stake can be more effective than promising gains. But also watching out for yourselves. Are you taking unnecessary risks just to avoid risk or loss? Understanding loss aversion helps you predict behavior and strategically frame offers. It's not just about numbers, it's about those numbers feel. Let me show you another example. Take a look at these two options. Option A, 66% chance to win 1.4K, 33% chance to win 1.5K, 1 point chance to win 0. Option 2, 100% chance to win 920. Now I want you to ask yourself honestly, which one would you choose? Most people choose option B. Why? Because it's certain, it feels safe. But here's the thing, the expected value of option A is actually higher than option B. Let's do the math. As you see, 1.443K, that's much higher than 920. So why do we still pick option B? Because we fear the 1% chance of losing everything more than we value extra gain. That's a loss aversion in action. Even a tiny possibility of 0 triggers a strong emotional response, and this pushes us away from rationality. That's the exact case my own experience shows. In negotiation, this means people might reject a better deal just because there's small risk involved, or they may choose a less optimal agreement just because it feels safe. If you understand this bias, you can design proposals that look and feel more secure, even if the objective value is lower. Are you making decisions based on value or based on fear? And that's the question. Negotiators who understand loss aversion can frame options not just logically, but psychologically, and that changes everything. So how do we use this understanding of human bias in actual negotiation? A good advocate in mediation understands not just law or fact, also human think. Now I, change the issue about mediation counsel or mediation advocate. As I mentioned, most important role is not mediator, it's mediation counsel and mediation advocate. Mediation counsel analyze, risk, analyze best alternative to non-negotiate, and worst cases and rational, and realistic alternative, and explores option and find the real interest and find the needs. All the thing is conducted by mediation counsel. Mediator is just facilitating the mediation counsel and principle to better negotiate. So ICC mediation competition is competition about mediation counsel. So the title is somewhat wrong, not mediation, competition. It's a mediation counsel competition. So this is kind of advocacy skill, negotiation approach, and mediator's assistance, mediation representation plan, selection of mediator. Everything is conducted by mediation advocate, mediation counsel. And if someone in principle do not have good mediation counsel, cannot win cannot settle better term with the, just the counsel who has a better, mediation counsel. Negotiation approach, understand when to use positional versus problem-solving strategies. Mediation representation plan, discover the true interests behind positions, recognize psychological impediment to settlement, including bias. Encourage strategic disclosure when appropriate. Mediator assistance is one of the key. Know when to use private sessions, caucus, versus joint session, especially Korea or Japan kind of a risk avoiding culture. mostly use caucus private session because they do not show their true intention needs in joint session. So it's a ping pong, kind of mediation negotiation is quite often. One of my experience is that there was a dispute between joint JB investment. We were 50-50. We were a financial investor, and the counterparty was a Korean Jabal. And what they was asking was something beyond the agreement and something, absurd. But they believed that they agreed that before the agreement, and agreement itself is somewhat different. And one of the front team or our fund side strongly refused because it's against the fiduciary duty. It's a breach of law. And one of the top management said in Korea, relationship is super important. And if we push that, and they will go to the litigations, and the JB partnership will ruin. And at the end, our investment return could be down. And in conclusion, investors will be unhappy. And so what's the purpose of disputing this? And he tried to persuade the front guy and fund manager, but fund manager was from the lawyer, and his background is a U.S. lawyer, and he's strongly against that kind of commercial decision. And the counterparty was quite upset because they think we and the financial investor betrayed their trust. And so it's quite escalated. And so in the middle, I was injected by our senior management. So I ping pong and I try to persuade them, and I try to get the better options for satisfying both parties. And I met their general counsels and tried to persuade the current situation. And after that, I deliver some of their messages to CEO and the fund manager, and I'm deliver another message to them, and back and forth several times. Then I find quite good options which could satisfy both parties' interest, because financial investors' main purpose is clean exit with higher return. And that Jabal's main purpose was getting the immediate money they need to use. And so we somewhat exchanged the possibility of future return with the some small money in current cash. And so we revised the shareholder agreements, and so we could reach the settlement agreement. Luckily, we do not go to the courts for the case. So that's a kind of a real word negotiation and mediation between especially high context society who do not wish to show their emotion. We call it a save face kind of culture. And so they do not lose face against someone who is counterparty. So that's kind of Korean style. And selection of mediator and process control is another important one. As I mentioned, in Korea, it is quite hard to find facilitated mediator. And most of the mediators are evaluative. Although I think in India maybe somewhat different. But that is changing at the moment. In Korea, we are trying to establish a new facilitative mediation education a system in KCAB, and I'm discussing with the structure at the moment with the KCAB, and KCAB will establish that facilitative mediation as well. And when I have been trained in in Turkey company in Dutch Mediation and Negotiation Academy. They were the same, this kind of paradigm shift about kind of decades ago. And she mentioned that Manon Shinibili was my trainer, and she explained that every European country was same. They were evaluative in mediation as well. And the mood was changed and they totally changed to facilitate mediation at the moment. And now Korea is changing. I believe India is already changed. So the Kahneman's kind of the best negotiator don't just, argue better. They think better, frame better based on the understanding of culture and based on understanding of counterparty and based on understanding of at the moment, kairos and what's the right timing. And if you want to be a good negotiator and good mediator, I think you you cannot be a mediator right at the moment after the graduating law school or a junior level because normally mediators are seniors and mediation advocate, mediation counsels could be young lawyers because they are negotiators. They need to represent the clients on better term on settlement negotiation. And so that's what you need to learn about the current change of mood because nowadays Korea has suffered that arbitration, especially international arbitration's cost is very high, and the principals realize the high cost of the arbitrations and the result was not that satisfactory. So the number of the cases of international arbitration in Korea is significantly dropping, and in contrast, needs for the mediation is increasing because of the court litigations. There's too many cases for too small judges in Korea. The result is extremely bad, and principals do not satisfy the result of the judgments. And because there's not enough time for judge to review all the documents, and I believe most of the judges do not have enough time to review every documents, especially complex cases. So the mediation is now changing in Korea, and it's time for mediation and mediation advocate to have opportunity in Korea. And I believe whole the world is changing, and I'm sensing that kind of mood from other jurisdictions mediators as well, from US, from Singapore, from everywhere. Let me finish with bold one. We are not just solving problems, we are redesigning relationship, reframing value, redrawing the boundaries of what's possible. Some people call that dreaming. We call it design thinking. We call it intentional architecture of the future. And as the SF Nobel Foundation and there is a Apple TV drama puts it so brilliantly, why stop at one word? Why not save the galaxy? And I think and Collective Counsel is expanding their reason, and I believe you can, expand beyond India. And this isn't just a science fiction, that it's a mindset, negotiators' mindset for system and future and for galaxies. And what others call, dreams, we call blueprints. And let's go beyond negotiating outcome, go beyond India, beyond Korea. Let's start architecting, futures. It's almost time. And before closing, and is there any questions and comments and anything else? Then I will answer.
Yes, sir. I had one small question.
Yes, please.
So in India, what happens is that if there's a mediation settlement, then the parties usually cannot return to litigation. We do not allow them to appeal a mediation settlement unless there are some grounds that we say that they did not know what they were signing, or they were under undue influence, or other technical terms. But like we were discussing that in Korea, people are more averse to risk than the other states. So does Korea also have a law that mediation settlements are binding and there won't be any improvements, any changes to them, or can they be challenged in a court of law?
Yes, there are, and there is actually different kinds of mediation. First one is court mediation, is a civil mediation and driven by court. And another one, there are about 30 different administrative mediation by separate laws. And most of that laws, and including the court mediation, has a clause that the result of mediation has the same effect with the court judgment. So it has the same effect as court judgment based on specific laws. And there are other mediation beyond those kind of specific mediation based on specific laws. That's a private mediation, but there is no kind of law about that mediation. For instance, international commercial mediation, there is no such thing. There is a Singapore Convention. Korea ratified the Singapore Convention. Just executed Singapore Convention, didn't ratify it, and we are preparing the law, but we do not have any law. So there is an vacant, and there is no law about regulating that. So the effect is just contract, settlement contract, and otherwise you need to get the settlement contract, bring it to the court, and get the settlement agreement in front of the court. Then you can get the same effect as court-driven civil mediation. So it's a kind of complex.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Is there any other questions, comments?
Yes, sir. We just got a question from our chat box that why Korea is not good at facilitate mediation, as you said in this session.
As I mentioned, that because of high avoidance, risk avoidance, plus we are some kind of culture of obeying by confusion. Korea was kingdom about more than thousands years, and in the kingdoms, king has great power, and everything was hierarchical and top down, and we need to obey. Japan is similar. Top down, need to obey, otherwise gotta get killed. And unlike European countries, there is some kind of challenging cultures. There is no strong kingdom other than France. Every day they have battles and wars, and after Roman Empire's fall, they were fighting all the times. So they are good at fighting and negotiating at all the time without any authority. But in Korea, it was peaceful, and we live more than thousands of years with the king under the, so we are very accustomed to just relax and obey the order and not challenging the authority. So that kind of culture make us somewhat difficult to negotiate against the authority, against the age, against the, kind of nunchi. And if someone is trying to break that rules and and the seniors see those young guys as you don't have any mana. And in those kind of atmosphere make us very undeveloped country for facilitated mediation. But Korea is changed very fast, and current young, generation is quite different from older generation. And so Korea is rapidly changing, and we have some movement about facilitative mediation about more than 10 years. But now it seems like now it's time is coming. And so I believe it will not take that much time to we get, follow up those kind of facilitated mediation.
Thank you so much, sir, for this great answer. Again, one of our member, Janvi Chavan, wants to ask a question. In emotional conflicts, what do you follow to stay calm in balance, especially when the parties are hurt or angry? But you, as a mediator, need to be logical too.
Okay, that's great question. And sometimes that kind of emotion could be uh, uh, good kind of a sauce for the mediation because in the court, in the arbitration, we cannot express emotions, but in mediation, parties can express their emotion, especially in caucusing. They express their honest expression, and it could somewhat kind of catharsis for the principals. They do not have any chance either in the court, in front of judge, in front of arbitrator. If once they show the emotion, they trying to stop them and get out of here. But mediators listen to them, kind of listener and kind of healer. And sometimes it make, better settlement because of the emotion. So I don't think the emotion itself is bad for the dispute resolution, but the thing is how to control that emotions. And if we better control that emotion as mediator or mediation advocate, it could be, change the cases. Let me tell you about not exact case about mediation, but when I was a law firm lawyer, it was a shipping finance transaction, and I was representing the lenders, and counterparties was representing the shipping company. And as you know, in shipping finance, there are always foreign exchange regulations involved. And the shipping company was failed to file Korean bank report, and the counterparty's counsels was not aware of the action taken by the shipping company. And because of the responsibility, the shipping company's manager and shipping company, the counterparty's counsels forgive to provide any kind of suggestions or remedy against that kind of illegal, activity the shipping company had made. And at that moment, they asked me about, is there any way to, change that situation? Because if it is subject, the shipping companies become subject to the injunction or kind of penalty, then the relevant officers and managers need to get out of the company and being laid off. And so I'm trying to find the solutions within the boundary of the law, and I made some kind of detour to file later report, but not regular report, and cannot express the exact the structure. Anyway, um, I suppose that idea to the counterparty's counsel first, but interestingly, they refused my idea because it's risky and they do not take the risk. And it's another example of risk avoidance. And so that shipping company officer asked me whether I can help. But I'm the lenders counsel, and I ask lenders to just get sign off, and actually they sign off, and so I represented them to file the Korean bank report, and that because of that I actually I took the risk, and because of taking that risk, that shipping company after that deal that shipping company gave me every shipping finance deal to me. And they were become my anchor client. And when I was working at Yuchon, and our relationship became stronger than before. And it was great opportunity for me for practice. So it's kind of that's another kind of emotion as well, because fear is emotions and risk avoidance coming from the emotion of fear. And if we can overcome that fear and get the chance and risk, taking risk, that's kind of the good mediation advocate, good negotiation, a negotiator can have, because you can get hundreds of opportunity from those kind of risk taking. Actually, I took the risk of becoming independent mediator in Korea. And when I started that, it was quite bold and too early. But now I'm taking the fruits of that and getting a lot of, contracts and architecture of how to make those kind of structure in education and translation of good books, and every opportunity is coming at my desk at the moment. And because I took the risk about a few years ago, I'm having this opportunity because I overcome my emotion, which is fear. So I think that could be not directly related to that, but a kind of example.
So another question we got from Mr. Jasdeep Bajaj. Why the parties approach Singapore arbitration model for any international arbitration?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yes, yes, sir. Why the parties approach Singapore arbitration model for any international arbitration?
Singapore arbitration model versus international arbitration model?
Yes, sir.
So, asking what's the difference between them, or?
No, no, no. He asked why the parties approach Singapore arbitration model for any international arbitration.
Sorry, I can't quite get the gist of the question.
Hello, Mr. Kim.
Sir, actually, he's asking. Sorry. Go ahead, please. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Okay. So, Mr. Kim, the question is basically that why do people prefer a Singapore arbitration model over any other arbitration model?
I don't think the people's favor Singapore arbitration, model, because just Singapore has kind of preoccupied stakeholder of the arbitration, so they follow that Singapore, and of course, and Singapore has good jurisdictions and governance, and at the same time, the one of the most important factor Singapore has is they adopted common law system, but they are Asian country and they are hierarchical, but at the same time they're a colony of England, so they have adopted common law. And their judges and judgment. Have you ever seen an opportunity to see in Singapore case judgment? Is quite similar to arbitration cases. And when there is something wrong in arbitration, you need to file in a cancellation litigation to a Singapore court. And one of my experience was we challenged that jurisdiction issue about SIAG arbitration to Singapore court, and the Singapore court made a decision on lower court and higher court. When I saw that judgment, I was quite surprised. It's really intensive, based on a common law on a kind of system. So it's really similar to arbitration awards. In Korean judgment is very simple. I think Chinese judgment is simpler than Korea because we do not see every, assertion, every evidence. We do not take enough time to reviewing that. And that's the Singapore's power comes from that adopting the common law system. At the same time, their judges' salary is quite high. And so they have enough time to review the one case. But in contrast, in Korea, salary is quite low compared to Singapore judge. And the number is too low compared to judgment and judges' number. And so they do not have enough time to review the cases, and they do not receive enough money. And nowadays, they do not have reputation as well. So it's Korea's judges, courts are kind of collapsing at the moment. So and that's what I feel in Korea. But in contrast, Singapore, based on strong, fundamental of their court system, their arbitration system is, kind of top up on their system because arbitration cannot be, stand alone. There should be based on somewhere's law, somewhere's court. If there's something wrong in arbitration, we need to go to file about the litigation about that arbitration award. So I think that's the power Singapore has, and another thing is based on that power, they preoccupy the market on arbitration market. And once they're preoccupied, there is no reason for other arbitrators, other, jurisdictions to those pies unless they have better judge or better court system than Singapore. Singapore has perfect system for English as well. Korea, we do not have English judge. Korea has a Korean judges, so there is no reason for foreign, companies to bring cases to Korean arbitration based on Korean, judges. When there is something wrong, you need to go to Korean court. No, I'm not going to go to the Korean court. Me as well. So I don't think international investor trying to bring the case to the Korean court. So that's kind of, I think, the power of Singapore.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have one question. So I want to ask, like, what truly makes a mediation successful? So is it the process, is it preparation, or is it the mindset of the mediator? And what are some common mistakes which you think a mediator can avoid?
Sorry, what?
What are some common mistakes which you think a mediator can avoid?
Avoid, I see.
Right.
First of all, the first question was, I think that's the process that every mature mediator feel the same because when you finish the whole process and people feel something different. And the importance is not lied on good mediator. The importance is lied in whether the parties take the whole process of mediation. When they took the process of mediation, they feel something changed. And that's the power of procedure and process. And that's what matured mediators saying the same things. So I think the process has the power, and unlike the court procedure, mediation procedure takes some time to listen to their stories, principal stories. In contrast, in arbitration, either in arbitration or litigation, judges, arbitrators do not want to listen from the principal because their stories not well organized, their stories not logical, their stories based on emotions. So they hate to listen emotions. In contrast, in mediation, mediators want to hear the emotions because the solutions or dispute resolutions not comes from logic, comes from emotions. When we resolve the case based on logic and they do not satisfy with the logic, the losing party always do not satisfy with the result and do not satisfy with the emotionally satisfied with the result. So there are some kind of seed of dispute on the result of the logical dispute resolution. In contrast, in mediation, the resolution is based on emotions. Their emotions are resolved. Yes, we can go with the battle deal, understand the counterparty's position, counterparty's emotions. That's the reason why we disagree. That's the reason why behind this disagreement, dispute, emotions. So based on those understanding, people try to settle the case and they took the procedure by in process, they understanding each other and they have opportunity to speak and the mediator listen to their stories. And that changed the mood of dispute resolution. So that's, I believe that's entire change of paradigm shift from the resolving the dispute by logic, resolving dispute by emotion plus logic. There are logic because there are mediation councils. Mediation council prepare the better terms, better options out of the dispute angles, looking for options outside of the box. And that's what mediation advocates are doing. And mediators are getting some kind of in the middle of those roles. So I believe process has that kind of power in contrast to the litigation or arbitration.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom, but I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So, in the beginning of your session, you shared a very beautiful analogy between mediation and meditation.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so my question is like, what are the risks that arise when mediation is mistaken for meditation?
I, I have an interesting story from another mediator, Australian mediator, Delcy Lagunas Angelico. Her story was that one. And at the old time, the people confused with meditation with mediation and booked a session with her. And all of a sudden, and she asked, "When do we start?" Asking meditation, and but the gist is, I think, similar. The meditation is a kind of, in my understanding, meta recognition of my thinking, my emotions, my breath, my feeling. Everything is recognizing what am I doing, what am I understanding. This kind of system to Daniel Kahneman's theory. And when we upset, we can think about why am I upset, and thinking about we eating something, what am I eating, the taste of something, and we normally do not think about that, but meditation make us to think about what am I doing, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what am I, those are akin things we begin to meta recognize, meta think our and mediation is quite similar. Mediation, the base, the seed of dispute, where does it come from? Why do we fight? Because of emotion? Because what's the true needs? What's the true intention of this fight? Are we just trying to fight because of saving our faces? Because of my boss, those kind of thing. We start to meta recognize the true reason of dispute, then we can find out the solution. So in that sense, it's quite similar to meditation.
Right, right. Thank you for that. But like, still, I don't know, but I personally feel that sometimes meditation and mediation, like in mediation, you still have to have certain conviction. I mean, like with summarizing, holding, like it's pretty much the similar, like holding the space and the approach to the mediation. But again, like if you follow it from the meditation perspective, it becomes very chaotic, because meditation tells you to calm down and come back to your center, but that's for you, your own self, but mediation is for other. It's a party driven process. So how do you give that energy to the party there? That becomes a task. Like, how do you
Ah,
transfer that?
quite interesting. I think praying in Christianity, we pray for someone else, and I believe that's kind of meditation as well. And we trying to think, I want to resolve this case. I want the counterparty become satisfied with the result, and those kind of thinking itself could be meditation. And I don't think meditation is for my own behalf. Meditation has some kind of wave which reaches to another parties. And if we truly wish, peace, truly wish to, resolve the relationship, and those kind of energy can penetrate into someone else's and make some kind of wave, common waves. So it's kind of meditation. So it's very common.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for that. Actually, this question is basically because these days we are like, I am training a group of meditators for mediation. So like that chaos is happening there. So I love the analogy when you gave it in the beginning. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Is there any other questions, comments?
Yes, sir. I have a question. Like,
Mm.
you have been practicing the mediation for so long.
Mm.
I just want to ask that what are the most common challenges which one mediator face when practicing the cross-border mediation? And it will be very great if you share any example or the case which you have practiced uh, a cross-border mediating.
Mm. Thank you so much for a great question. I think culture difference is the most difficult part for each parties. As I previously mentioned, Korea is a very high context society. In contrast, European countries are very low context society, and in Korea we do not there are a lot of similar context words, but we think we don't have to say something because you need to understand what I'm trying to say based on my body language, kind of my eyes, those kind of atmosphere. You need to learn and understand what's what am I feeling, what's my intentions. And so Korean people is very, very good at those kind of nunchi and trying to find out the true intention behind the words, behind the silence and something else. And so it's very difficult for them to ask in detail, kind of European country. And in Europe, they are saying thank you. Then thank you for what? In Korea, we don't say thank you. You don't have to say thank you because you need to understand I'm thanking based on my body language. That's kind of huge difference between European countries, law context society, and Korean, Korean and Japan. We are very high context society. You need to understand without understand the silence, and you need to understand between the lines. And that's the huge gap between cultural gap between European country and East Asian countries, Northeast Asian countries. It goes to the contract as well. Korean contract, Japanese contract is very simple. In the traditional contract is very, very simple. In contrast, American European contracts is very detailed. Every single words there are different kind of meanings and huge bunch of things. And Koreans simple. But Korean trying to follow those kind of practice in European American practice. So Korean, we are very following those kind of big one. but we do not have, in the older days, we did not have full understanding of that, all the different terms. So some of the terms are based on common law, and that common law languages into Korean law contracts. And those kind of misunderstanding of cut and paste the contract in the Korean context without the knowledge make a misunderstanding of law and those kind of thing. One of the example is mm, in M&A contract, the risk is kind of different. When we sell something in Korea, upon the delivery, the risk is transferred to the purchaser. So if there is something wrong before the delivery, the purchaser don't have to pay something. In contrast, in common law, going back to the history, and it's derived from Roman, Empire, there was a trade of slaves. When we trade the slaves before the delivery, slaves can be sick, slaves can be dead. So when they have contract, the risk transfer to the purchaser. So after the contract, before the delivery, when slaves die, the purchaser should pay the purchase price of the slave. That was the Roman law about the risk of transfer. That goes to European countries, but in Europe, there is been some back and forth changes, but in conclusion, they follow that Roman roots. So the risk of change is different when contract and delivery. And without knowledge of that, Korean company follow those kind of system. And American country, understand those kind of the risk transfer. And so M&A contract has very awkward situation about that. And Korean law contract, and it's English, and the risk aversion is kind of common law system. So those kind of mixed misunderstanding of both common law and civil law and Korean law makes those kind of disputes, and it could generate and misunderstanding. And they do not know what's the issue. But in the deep dive, there was a historical reason. And that's, I think, the kind of cultural reasons based on the law.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for today's session. As till now, we don't received any questions in the chat box, so all the questions were completed. Now I welcome my fellow volunteer Kritika Yadav for thanking both.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kritika Yadav, a volunteer from the Event and Program Department of Collective Counsel, and I feel truly honored to deliver the vote of thanks for today's enlightening session. First and foremost, a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Kim, panelist at KCAB International, for joining us and sharing such a valuable global perspective on mediation. Your insights were eye-opening and have surely inspired all of us to think beyond borders when it comes to dispute resolution. A warm thank you as well to Mr. Abhijit Gathraj, a respected dispute resolution lawyer practicing at the Honorable High Court of Gujarat. Sir, your practical experience and international engagements truly enriched this session. We are grateful for your time and valuable inputs. I would also like to thank all the attendees for being part of this session and showing such keen interest throughout. A special mention to Collective Counsel for giving me this opportunity and for consistently organizing such meaningful learning experiences. And lastly, to my fellow volunteers and the event and program team, thank you for your dedication and teamwork in making this event a success. Once again, thank you everyone. Looking forward to much more impactful session ahead. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we have see everyone? Just one moment. Bye. Wow. It's really good to see your faces.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great evening.
Bye.